Hi, Film Addicts. Welcome to the show. Thanks for tuning in. Today we have an amazing guest for you, Mike Gasaway. Mike is an Emmy award-winning writer, director, and producer. He is known for the Adventures of Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius, Back at the Barnyard, and Planet Sheen. Mike, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Love the show. This is so fun. Fun to do this.
Oh, I'm so happy to have you here, and our listeners are just going to be thrilled. One of my favorites is Jimmy Neutron. Oh my gosh. I just want the listeners to know where you are tuning in live today for our recording.
I am in Cincinnati, Ohio, so the Midwest. We're gearing up for a snowstorm, so in the middle of Ohio.
Oh, that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Oh, except for the snowstorm part. I mean, do you get snow so bad that you can't open the door?
It's not that bad. We live downtown Cincinnati, and so it's not terrible like that, but it's hard to walk around when I think we're going to get like 6 to 12 inches of snow, so It's a lot.
Okay, because we're in sunny LA.
I miss it.
There's people wearing shorts at the dog park today. So, okay. Well, we love talking about films on Film Addicts. So I'm going to ask you, what was one of your favorite films growing up as a child?
It has to be one that got me into animation. I started in animation, and it was a little short done by Pacific Data Imaging. They eventually became DreamWorks, for Shrek and everything. And it was called Gas Planet. It's one of those things where I don't know. It's always stayed with me. Like even when I was, a little bit older. I mean, it's just one of those things where it got me into animation and started me on this career path.
It was called Gas Planet.
Yeah, Gas Planet. It's animation, so it's 3D animation, and it's the story is it's basically about flatulence, basically, and so me I've never grown up from being 13, and so it's just really hit home for me.
So your parents took you to the theater and said, "Hey, let's go watch this flatulent film."
What? Yes. Well, my dad used to take me to all the Mel Brooks movies.
Okay.
And, so I grew up in the 70s, and so I would go and see Blazing Saddles and History of the World and stuff like that. And Blazing Saddles is the flatulence capital, really, and my last name too. I mean, come on, Gasaway. Yeah,
oh my gosh, that's hysterical. And by the way, I met Mel Brooks with my dog. My husky got his attention, and they were celebrating some holiday that I didn't know about. And but he's like, "Yeah, come by, have coffee with us in Beverly Hills." But since COVID, you can't really do too much in LA over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I love comedy. I love Mel Brooks. Amazing. The producers love that. So that's really interesting. So that's kept you on your career path. But what about a favorite Criterion film? Do you have one that inspired you? Because you're a writer, director, and producer.
Yeah, absolutely. When I started with animation, so I directed a lot of animation for Nickelodeon, and when I made the switch to live action, I started watching a bunch of films, and I was doing what I call reverse storyboarding. So I would stop the film every time there was a cut, and I would draw it. So I would basically do storyboards after the fact. And one was Hitchcock's Notorious. I did every single shot in that film, and that really helped me learn how to direct. And so, I mean, I just learned so much on that film, pacing and compositions and reframing and everything with that. So yeah, that's definitely one of my favorites.
I love Alfred Hitchcock, so that's a great one. So you actually storyboarded all of the film shots in that movie? That's amazing training too. That's a great.
I did it. And I did it with 4 different films. And the first one that I did was Jaws. So you'd want to talk about Spielberg. I mean, it's easy to say that he's one of your favorites, but he's definitely my favorite because I feel like he taught me, even though I've never met him. But I did Jaws the same way. Every time there was a cut, I drew it. And so I did Jaws, I did The Graduate, I did Cool Hand Luke, and Notorious. So yeah.
What was the third one? You did Cool Hand Luke, amazing film with Paul Newman. And by the way, he was a mentor to Rico Amici, one of my podcast guests here in New York at the Actors Studio. So interesting story there. So you did Cool Hand Luke, you did Jaws, you did Notorious, and what was the fourth one?
The Graduate.
Oh, The Graduate. So you
Yeah.
actually storyboarded the film every time there was a director's cut.
Yep.
Oh,
Yep. I mean, I learned, and the thing is, I got to learn, how to compose my shots, how the flow could really, affect story. And I would say, oh wow, why did they do this? And just by watching the film. So it was a great education.
I love that because a lot of our listeners are award-winning writer directors or people that are making their first film or they're entering film festivals or they're inspiring to be a writer director producer or actor, so it's really helpful to them, so thank you for that. And so what was one of your favorite film shots? You probably have a couple.
Yeah, it's funny because I do have to go back to Jaws. There's a scene pretty early on actually, and it's one of those things where like a lot of people, when you say your favorite shot, a lot of people will say the oneers, like from The Player or any Spielberg movie really, or from Rope or something like that. But there's a long shot, long one shot near the beginning in Jaws where it just follows Chief Brody into these rooms, and it's almost like it's seamless when you're watching it. When I was watching it, I'm like, there had to have been a cut. And, since I was storyboarding, I went through and I went like camera moves. And it's like, I learned so much about handing off from one character to the next. And it felt so seamless that it's just one of those things that, man, I mean, I know that he had to plan that out. There's no way he just got on set and said, here's what I'm going to do. I know it had to be planned out. And that's why I enjoy that so much, because I mean, I really like the thought that goes into filmmaking before you actually make the film.
Yeah, I mean, when I see those long shots like that, they're so beautiful and they're so captivating, and you really follow the character and feel like you're actually in the film.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. That's, as a director, I mean, I think that that's what we have to do. We have to have the audience empathize with our characters and feel like they're right there with us.
Yeah, and your so your top two are David Fincher and Steven Spielberg, and yeah, I think even Nick Pesci, you said, right?
Yeah, you know what? I saw Eyes of My Mother, and oh my goodness, that was intense. And then I can't remember the other movie that he had a couple years ago. But oh man, just the visual style was so cool. The story and the characters were amazing. I mean, I tell my friends that you've got to see Eyes of My Mother, but then I warn them it's rough, but it's good. It's one of those ones that not too many people I think have seen, but in the horror genre, it's right up there for me.
Yeah, and some of your favorite scenes in a movie. Can you tell me some of those?
Yeah, you know what? The one of my favorites is actually from it's kind of an obscure movie that Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are dead, and it's the tennis match. It's the verbal tennis match. I don't know if you've seen it, but basically they're cutting each other down, and there's certain ways of insults that they have to do. And if there's a pause, they keep score. It's really cool. It's just like tennis, and it's just amazing. That's one of my favorite. And I think for like television though, I like to think of the Haunting of Hill House. What was it? The one where they had the one shot where they kept showing the adults, and then the camera would kind of it started almost spin around, and it came back, and then it was the little kids sitting in the same place. That kind of stuff. I just love it because it really connects the past and the present for in that series. And man, I don't know. I was really jealous when I saw it because I like to have longer shots and combine my shots. When I saw that, I was mad, and I was like, I wish I did something like that in one of my shows.
Yeah.
So that's where I can really respect that. I like it that if I get mad that I didn't think of it, that means that's a really good shot. So
Yeah, I know when you see a shot, like Stanley Kubrick or something like that, you're just like, I wish I could do that. I mean, I'm like an indie short director, and you're like, we have no budget, no equipment, and I tried to do like a push-in shot or a wraparound shot, and just like I call it, I caught my Stanley Kubrick shot. You feel so good, even though whatever level you are, yeah. But
absolutely, yeah.
that's the beauty of one day when you can be with the big boys, your dream is to have. So I a real quick you have a funny line from a movie. Can you tell me that?
Yeah, it's one of those things where this movie is another one that it's I think it was from the late '80s, I believe, maybe early '90s, and this was when Val Kilmer was all hot, and this was Real Genius, and it's just a line. He's just sitting out on the balcony, and I think one of the other characters come and just ask what is he thinking about, and he just he goes, self-realization. I was thinking of the immortal words of Socrates, who said, "I drank what?" I just love that line. It's just like one of those things where the whole history of Socrates and everything, and I don't know. I still, when that line comes up, I still love that. So that's probably one of my favorites.
I'm going to repeat that because I want to make sure everyone heard that. So his favorite line from the movie is from Real Genius, self-realization. I was think of the immortal words of Socrates, who said, "I drank what?" I love that. That's amazing.
Yeah. How he delivers it so well too, because it's that slight pause of "I drank what," and it's so good, so good.
Yeah. So yeah, and some actors are so incredibly and can deliver lines from a script and make them just be magical and sing and just go, wow, that's stunning. So some of your favorite characters was Does Your Dog Bite?
That goes back to my childhood.
Yeah.
My dad didn't only take me to fart movies, but no, I mean, I guess Inspector Clouseau. I guess the Pink Panthers. They were kind of close to it.
Yeah.
He's probably my favorite character because he's such an idiot and he doesn't realize it. And I got to say, when me and one other guy came up with the idea that eventually became Planet Sheen for Nickelodeon, we had this show where we thought it was really interesting that we're always searching for intelligent life in other planets, and we're hoping that we can find intelligent life. And I thought, well, wouldn't it be great if we found life, but it was not intelligent? It was really stupid. And so I think of Inspector Clouseau because it's like those things. Just his lines are so great, and his character was just so awesome. I still laugh to this day, and I've probably seen it hundreds of times, and I still laugh.
Yeah, man, they just nailed comedy. They nailed comedy and made you laugh. I mean, really, they set the standards. Mel Brooks and the Pink Panther, amazing comedy. I love them. So I want to ask, so the audience can just, you're in Ohio and you became this very, very successful Emmy, award-winning writer, director, producer on major TV shows. So can you just share with us, like, how did you start?
Yeah, well, I started in architecture, actually. I went to the University of Cincinnati in architecture, and it was a 6-year program when I was there because it combined going to work in the profession with school. And I made it about 4.5 years before I said, I don't want to do this anymore. And I found animation, and it was something that it's so funny that when I think back, and every time that I say this, it sounds so stupid, but I didn't realize animation was a real job. I knew Bugs Bunny wasn't real, but I didn't realize that the people that worked on him, that directed and animated and everything, that was their job. I never realized that. And I know it sounds just so stupid when I say that out loud, but when I found out that I have an ability to animate, I just fell in love with it. And so I just kept doing that, and I eventually was working for about 4 years, and then I got a job at Disney. And so I started working at Disney, and we were working on all of the theme park attraction stuff. So we were doing virtual reality before virtual reality really became popular. And so I worked on a bunch of different shows there. And then I ended up working for a games company that it's Naughty Dog that ended up doing the first Jack and Daxter. So I worked on that. And then I moved to Jimmy Neutron. So I was an animation supervisor for the film, and then they promoted me to be a director on a TV show. And so that's where I did 3 seasons of the TV show, and that's where I had to learn how to direct. That's where I was doing all the storyboards and everything like that. And so I did that for 3 seasons. I started to direct a film for Warner Brothers, a real big film for Warner Brothers. But the company that I worked for that was doing the film for them went out of business. And so I moved then. At that time, I was living in Dallas, Texas, and I moved to San Diego. So I was living in Carlsbad for a while. And living from Carlsbad, moving back to Ohio, that was very painful.
Oh.
I miss it every day. Like what you said at the dog park, I'm like, I used to go to the beach almost every week. But I was working at back at the barnyard, so I was a supervising director on that. And then on Planet Sheen, I was the co-producer and supervising director on that. But then I ended up leaving that show and then moving back to Ohio because the surf is better here. No, no, oh, that was terrible. But there's not much animation in Ohio, so I had to move into live action, and that's where I kind of made the switch of okay, how do I do my pre-production? I've already talked to a bunch of I've already directed a lot of actors before, but they're in a booth, and also what's this metallic thing with a lens on the end of it? What's that? It's like I have a virtual camera all the time, and I can set up my shots anywhere. And so that was interesting. And I got to tell you, animation is so much harder. And so live action, I felt that it was really free. And so that's kind of where I am now. I even have a software development company too that does basically like an alternative to storyboards. Like I was saying that I did my storyboards like reverse after the film was done. Well, our software actually helps you create your 3D shots before you go on set. So it saves you money and saves you time. It's one of the things that selfishly I want as a director. And so that's why we kind of created the software. So yeah, so that's kind of where I am right now. I mean, I want to keep directing, and we're trying to raise money for a couple of feature films right now, and hopefully we'll be doing that and then take off from there. So
That's amazing. So the software company, if somebody wanted to get that, like, what's the name of it, and how do they contact you about that?
sure, it's called Filmatic. So it's Filmatic, and it's filmatic.com. And so it's really easy to just go there and you can sign up for a demo, and you can probably even meet me because we've been doing live demos with it. And also when you set up that demo, we have special prices that if you want to try it out, that you can do that as well. So
Yeah, well, we have to get a code for our Film Addicts audience so they can get a discount.
absolutely.
Yeah, we love to do things for our audience here. So Film Addicts is pretty easy for our Film Addicts audience to remember, but you are ATICK.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. See how we have all this synergy. So during COVID, real quick before I just, how did COVID affect your art? Like, what were you doing this whole time?
Oh, you know what? I mean, that's where the software company really came in handy because I would probably be going nuts because now the software company has taken all of my free time. Because the thing is with it is not only am I trying to pitch it and talk to a lot of people about it, I'm also the tester. And so like I'm the chief product officer, so just a fancy title for number one tester, I guess you can say. But I also just try to come up with what direction the software is going to go. So it's kind of like a blessing and a curse because the blessing part is that I have time to do it. The curse part is that with COVID, where we can really go out and start selling it at film festivals and stuff like that, we can't do that. So that's kind of I can't wait for this to be lifted so we can go out and meet everyone and show everyone what it can do. But that's kind of what I've been doing during lockdown.
Yeah. So are you in there a pre-seed stage, or what stage are you like on Shark Tank? What stage would you be at?
Oh yeah, well the thing is, we actually went through something like a Shark Tank. At the University of Cincinnati, they have something. It's called a pre-accelerator program. I know a lot of universities have this, and so we went through it basically just to see if your product is viable. And so we graduated through that, and then we went in front of their board, and they fully funded us. And so we already got like our entire runway for the year, and we even got a CEO through it who just sold a software company right before he joined us, and he's even invested his own money. And so we're right now we have a product, we're selling it, we're full speed ahead. So we're making it better and better every day too.
Oh, great. Well, I'm gonna have to put you on both of my podcasts to help you out. We've got Girls Guide to Investing, where we talk about people that invest in themselves, whether it's stocks, bonds, startups, or real estate, or building a business, or just learning how to create something and make a business for yourself and stretch your money. So that's one of our podcasts besides Film Addicts, and we love learning from people and finding out how they started. And so really, really appreciate you coming on the show today. And just want everyone to, how would they catch up with something that you're working on now? Is there a website where they can see what you're working on?
I used to have my own page, but really, it's through Instagram. If you find me on Instagram, that's probably the most that I'm going to be doing. I mean, especially when we start working on the film, which we're hoping we're going to be doing at the end of May. But as you know, raising money for films it's a finicky thing. But so that's probably the best, and it's if you just find me a Mike Gasaway. So I don't think there's any other Mike Gasaway on there, but that's probably the best. I used to be a little bit more social online, but now I just don't have time. So my company's doing it like through Filmatic. There's a Facebook page on there, and then filmatic.com. But yeah, that's about as much as I can handle right now. There's not enough time in the day, as you know.
Oh yeah, I know. I tell everyone like if I even can go on a TikTok, I mean I'm lucky. I know TikTok stars and my friend Handy Frank. Yeah, hey Handy Frank.
All right.
He's got 1.5 million followers, and this other guy's got like over 6 million people combined on TikTok. But so follow us. I'm at Maryland Artist on Instagram and TikTok. But so the Facebook page is great. Film Addicts on there, and we got Film Addicts spelled the other way. So I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show. Really appreciate it. Wish you all the best and lots of success.
This was great. Thank you for having me. This has been fun. A lot of fun.
Yeah, and Film Addicts and our moguls, thank you for listening and tuning in. Until next week, we will wish you a happy and healthy, amazing week. Bye, everyone.